Hi, my name is Christine Gandia. I'm one of the tool's developers, and in this video I'm going to take you through a tutorial on how to be an administrator in ZooMonitor. So the goal of the video is to give you a basic understanding of how to be an administrator in ZooMonitor. So we'll talk about all the tabs in the ZooMonitor admin menu, and then also how to join the community projects, and finally how to manage data that you collect using ZooMonitor. So hopefully this again will give you a good foundation, but if you need more details or more tutorials, we strongly encourage you to visit the ZooMonitor YouTube channel, where there's a really great library of tutorials. But with that, let's get started. So in this video, I'm going to take you guys through this outline. And when we get to the Create Project section, what we're going to do is use this practice ethogram here on chimpanzees to create a project. So I would strongly suggest that as you go through this video, you do have this same document open so that you can follow along in the outline, but more importantly, so that you can use this ethogram to create a project and practice with me. All right, so to start, we're going to go to zoomonitor.org. And here, where this video is with the assumption that you already have a ZooMonitor account. If you don't, you can click register and go through that process. But here, we're going to start at the point where you already have the account. So we're going to click sign in, and then here you're going to see that you can go into the app to do observations, or you can log into admin. What we're going to do is log into admin. When you get here, you're going to select your email, enter your password. And when you sign in, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see welcome to admin, and you're going to see a summary of all of your sessions. This is going to include your total sessions, how many projects in the last 90 days you've done, what surveys you've used in the last 90 days, and so on. So where we're going to start is with the account management. So in the account management section here, you're going to see the details for your organization. And you can edit those details and also add in an image for your logo or whatever it may be. And in this section, you can also add your admin users and your observers. So the admin users, you're going to have two different types of admin users, which I'll describe in a moment. But in this section, you're going to see all of your admin users, and you can, if you're a super admin, you can edit their profile and deactivate any admin users. And then you can also edit your own profile, but also importantly, create admin users. So when you click create admin users, you're going to just add in their name, email, and you're going to create a password for them to start. So admin can be either a super admin or just a regular admin. Super admin has full access, including the ability to create and edit admins, change organizational information, and also delete the account. Admins, however, they can only manage projects, and they cannot create or edit admins. They cannot change the organizational information, and they cannot delete the account. So, and for managing projects, you can also decide how much management ability they have for those projects. So this is all. So it's important to know whether you want an admin to be a super admin or just an admin. And then you can, if you have deactivated any admins, you can press view inactive. All right, so, and then for this tab, the observers, this is just all of the observers that you have active. And in this section, you can see, to create an observer, you just add in their full name here, and then save. So once you have an admin, you can click view studies and see which studies you've added them to, or which studies they've been added to. And then you can also deactivate or edit their name. And when you deactivate them, you can press view inactive and they'll be on that list. Okay, so this is where you manage, your admin users and your observers. So the humans, you manage the humans here. Study resources is where you manage the animals and the non-human animals and the ethograms. So on this list, you're gonna see all the animals that have been added to all of the projects as a part of all the projects. And when you click on them, you can see which projects they are a part of. And then you can also, same as with the observers, you can deactivate them and view the ones that are inactive. When you click create animal, you'll have to add in the name, add in the species. If you don't have a species already, you can just press add new and then add a photo. This photo is going to be visible when you're doing observations. And then you can also add in a description. So here, this description can be used to describe any kind of physical features that you might be able to use to identify the animal. So an observer can read this and distinguish between individuals. And so the animal type, it's either an individual or a group. So a group is going to be a group of the same species, and then an individual is just an individual. And then for the species tab, you can just see a list of all the species. Here you can deactivate them or edit or create a new species where you would just say the name of the species. And when you click on it, you can also edit the species name. And then the ethograms part is where you'll have behaviors that you've saved or full ethograms that you've saved, because they're kind of like templates, so you want to reuse them and you don't want to type in the behavior every single time. So if you have certain behaviors that are used in every single ethogram, you want to add them here, because when we get to the projects, the creating projects, you can just automatically add the behavior instead of typing it in. But yeah, so that's the study resources. So now we're gonna go to create projects. So now we're in part 3, create projects. So we'll go to the project section. So here you'll have all of your projects listed. And then if you have any that are inactive, they'll be there as well. So I'm gonna click create project, and then now we're here in project settings. So we're gonna start with creating a project name. So here we're just gonna go BEEB practice chimps. I won't add a description, but you can. Study duration in minutes, I'm gonna say I want a 10-minute session. And then you want to click on save. Practice chimps 2. Okay. Save. So now we go to the focal subjects. So focal subjects are just the animals that you want to be recorded in this project. So I'm going to add in a group and also individuals for the chimpanzees here, so that I can show you why that's going to be, I'll show you why that's important when we're adding behaviors later. Okay, so we're going to select, so this is just for, I'm adding the group and the individuals because I'm going to show you how to create behaviors for groups and individuals, but when you create a project, you just need to add either the group or an individual if if you're only recording a group, just add a group. If you're only recording individuals, just add individuals. So, okay, so that's these added. So we have the chimpanzee group, and then chimp 3 and 4 individuals. So you'll see the type here that you can see group and then focal and focal. All right, so the next step is to add habitat maps. So for the BEEB ethograms, they are designed to have habitat maps. So when you add a BEEB project, you will need to add a habitat map. If not, you're going to be missing out on a lot of the context that we add in with the Power BI template. Okay, so we're going to click Add Habitat Map, and habitat name, if you have a species that is split across different habitats, and you want to make sure that the name reflects those so that, for example, if you have an east group and a west group, you want to put in whether it's the east group or west group map. Here we're going to put Podongo Trail, and then we're going to select the image, and then press save. Okay, so now you have your map there. You can also click grid in order so that when you open up your observations, the observation project, the map will have a grid on it. I'll add it just so that you can see when we look at it in the end. And then we press save. All right, so now we're gonna add in behaviors. So when we come to the behaviors, you'll see that you have 3 options. You have all occurrence, interval, or continuous channels. So all occurrence is for behaviors that you'll record anytime that they happen throughout the entire session. So it's a tally of those behaviors. Interval is a behavior that you're going to record at a predetermined time point. So like every 30 seconds, every minute, so on. Continuous is recording the duration of the behavior. So it's like a stopwatch for behaviors. You click when the behavior starts occurring, and then you click when it stops, and it'll give you the exact amount of time that that behavior was occurring. So you can combine all of these kinds of channels in one project, or you can create projects that mix and match. For this example, we're going to use all 3 channels. So we'll start with all occurrence. So all occurrence behaviors are normally going to be short duration behaviors that are difficult to catch if they at an interval. So they're going to be short duration and also potentially rare, which makes them difficult. So yeah, those are the kinds of behaviors that you want to add on to this channel. So we're going to put that the recording channel is on, and then we're going to create behavior. So this is what I was talking about before. So if you had added behaviors in study resources here, you can add from ethogram now. So here you would just select it and then click save, and then it would come up here. But what we're going to do is we're going to create behavior, so that now we're going to use the ethogram here. So for behavior name, we're going to start with the all occurrence. We're going to say, so we're going to start with yawning, and then description is going to be the definition of the behavior. So the description, we would strongly encourage you to always add descriptions because the description is going to come up. You can pull up the description during an observation. So if you have an observer that forgets the definition of a behavior, they can click that behavior, and this description will come up. And then you can also add in a video example of that behavior. So similar to the clips that we have in the BEEB reliability videos, you can add in clips like that here. And you can see those clips before you start a session. They won't be available during the session the way that the description is, but it could still really be really useful. And these three, I won't go over them now. I'll go over them when we go into the interval section. But for now, all we need is the behavior name and the behavior definition. And then we're going to click Save. So now we see that behavior come up here. And so now I'm going to add in the other behaviors. So say self-scratch, and then the description again. So that was control, copy, and paste, and then save. So now we have yawning and self-scratch as all occurrence behaviors for the chimpanzees. And then, so all occurrence behaviors, they will be recorded for both individuals and groups. So for this channel, you don't need to specify whether it's for individuals or groups. That's a little bit different for interval channels. So I'll talk about that now. But first, you want to save a number of intervals. So you want to think about how long you want your intervals to be. So I want 30-second intervals. And since we have a 10-minute session, that'll be 20 intervals. So 20 intervals in 10 minutes means that my intervals will be 30 seconds long. Okay, so now we're gonna click on Create Recording Channel. So this is create an interval recording channel. So this is going to be individual interval, and we're gonna click individual. So the reason that when we create a channel here, we have individual or group is because the behaviors that we select right now are either only going to be available for individuals or only going to be available for groups. So when you select an individual, you can record these behaviors. But if you select the group that we added, these behaviors you won't be able to select these. So it's important to create these channels knowing whether you're recording for an individual or a group. Okay, so we're going to start with individual, and then we'll create another one for the group. Okay, so when we see here, you'll see channel name, individual interval, and then when you say channel subjects, all, but when you click edit, you'll see that it's for chimps 3 and 4. So it is not for the group. That's where it's important. So the group cannot use this channel to record any behaviors. And then you can select or deselect, but we're gonna obviously just include all individuals for now. Okay, so next is going to be creating behaviors. So adding behaviors to this interval channel. All right, so we're gonna start with the visibility behaviors. So it's important to add these behaviors because at the end, when you're doing data analysis and you want to determine what percentage of time the animal was displaying a behavior, if let's say we have 10 intervals and the individual is only visible for 7 of those intervals, that means that they were visible 70% of the time. But for when we look at the behavior, let's say that they were sleeping, it's gonna say that they were sleeping 100. Oh God, no. All right, so here we look, oh gosh. Okay, here you see where that the channel name is individual interval and the channel subjects is all. So when you press edit for all, you'll see that it's only chimps 3 and 4. So the group is not here. So that means that the group cannot record behaviors on this channel. And then you can decide whether you want multiple individuals or not. So the next step is to start adding behaviors. So we're gonna click create behavior. And we're going to start off with our not visible behaviors, so out of sight and behavior obscured over here. And the reason that we want these to add in out of sight and behavior obscured is because we want to exclude any time that they're not in sight from our calculations at the end. So to give an example, let's say that we have 10 intervals. And our individual was only visible 7 of those intervals. So they were visible 70% of the time. If we recorded feeding the whole time, so let's say for 7 of those intervals that they were visible, we recorded feeding. So now it looks like our individual was feeding 70% of the time. When in reality, that's not accurate because we want to say that they were actually feeding 100% of the time that they were visible, and which would have been 70% of the interval. So adding in out of sight and behavior obscured within ZooMonitor, ZooMonitor will automatically do those calculations for you if you indicate which behaviors are not visible. And I'll show you when we export the data. But for now, we're just going to put ultimately it is important to put out of sight and behavior obscured to have more accurate data analysis in the end. So we'll start with out of sight. We'll select that it is a not visible behavior. And then we'll add in the description. And then this is where we'll start using the subgrouping. So subgrouping is so that if you have subgrouping, which we do for all of the BEEB ethograms, then we add it here so that it can divide your when we do the observation, when the layout, it's going to divide these behaviors into different headings so that it's easier to sort through the behaviors. If not, it's going to put all the behaviors in one row. Again, this will make sense at the end, but subgrouping helps the user interface essentially be much more organized and easier to work with when you're doing observations. So here we're going to put visibility. We're going to make all the subgroupings the headings that we have here. And then we're going to click save. So it takes you back to the all occurrence, but we'll have interval. And then when we click on the individual interval channel, now you'll see out of sight, location of chimpanzee, the definition, and then the subgrouping visibility. So now we're going to add in another behavior, behavior obscured, definition, and then subgrouping again, visibility. And save. So now back to interval, individual, interval. And then now you see we have these two behaviors. So now we'll add solitary behavior and social. Okay, so let's create behavior. Now let's add in locomotion. Then copy paste. Subgrouping again is going to be solitary, and then save. So now I'm just making my way back. Okay, so now we see locomotion and solitary for subgrouping. So I'm gonna add in, so we would do the same thing for these other behaviors. So I'm gonna add in just grooming, solitary. Okay, so now we go back to interval, individual interval, and then we'll see that we also have grooming now. I'm gonna skip over, well, okay, so we'll add one more for solitary play. Anytime that you add a behavior that can be both solitary and social, I would suggest adding solitary or social in front of it. Okay, so definite description, and then finally subgrouping, solitary, and save. So now back to individual interval. Now we have that there. So now we'll go to social, and this is where I will show you guys the different modifiers that you can add. So we're gonna put create behavior, and we're gonna say aggression, and then the description is gonna be our description here still. All right, let's see, can we add, yeah. Okay, and then the subgrouping now is going to be social, and the behavior modifier. So our definition here, we have two different types of aggression, contact and non-contact, and we want to distinguish those two. So what we're gonna add here is a modifier for the type of aggression. Type of aggression, so the category name, so behavior modifier category name, so type of aggression, and then the behavior modifier one values, comma separated. So we're gonna say contact, comma, no space, non-contact. And then you can add in any other modifiers that you want, but we're gonna just stick with this one for now. So you can also, another modifier that you can add in, well, no, we'll add in another one. Another one that you can add in here is aggressor or recipient. And then you can put aggressor, recipient, comma separated. All right, and then we have additional modifiers. So here, if we want, we can say directed toward, and then we have our social modifier. So adding in, saying that the social modifier is on means that it'll add in, it'll ask all the others, it'll have all the other individuals there that you can select from. So you can say that the aggressive behavior was directed toward, and then specify which individual, and it'll automatically just add the individuals that are within that species. Okay, so now we're gonna click save, and I'll show you how all of this looks after, obviously. So now we're just gonna go back to individual interval, and then here you're gonna see aggression. So I'm just gonna add in the visitor interaction behavior, the description, and then the subgrouping, which is social, and then the behavior modifier. This one also has a modifier. We're gonna say type of interaction, and we're gonna say positive / comma negative, and that's the only one that we'll add there. We won't add any social modifiers because it's not involving other individuals in the social group. It's involving visitors. So now we click Save. Okay, so when we come back here, we can see that behavior down here. All right, so now let's add in the abnormal behaviors. So this is just going to be coprophagy, add the definition, and then subgrouping is abnormal, and save. Okay, go back to interval, individual interval, and then we see that behavior down there. Okay, and then, so we'll stop here with the ethogram. So now we have our ethogram ready for our individual, for the interval. So we can also create, so right now we're in the individual interval channel. So if we go back, now let's create one for the group. So create recording channel, and then we'll say group interval, and then we're going to select group and save. The only behavior that I'm going to add here is our last behavior, idiosyncratic body movement, just so that it's an example. So behavior, description is going to be the definition, and then subgrouping, we're going to put abnormal. Okay, so now when we go to the intervals, we'll see individual interval and group interval, and we'll see that for individuals we have 8 behaviors, and then for the group we have 1 behavior that we can record on the interval. So this is just for an example, but obviously we would want to have all the behaviors in both. Okay, so that's it for interval. Now we're going to go to continuous. Okay, so in the continuous channel, remember that the whole point of the continuous channel is to get the exact duration of a behavior. So this is going to be for behaviors that you might have a particular concern about. So we're going to do an example looking at aggression and some abnormal behaviors. So we're going to do just create channel. We're just going to say continuous. And it's important to note that continuous channels can only be used with individuals. So you'll see channel subjects and all, but when you click edit, it's only going to be chimp 3 and 4. So you cannot record a continuous channel for a group. So be aware of that. Okay, so now we're going to do create behavior, and let's say that we want to specify when it's contact versus the duration of contact versus non-contact aggression. So I'm just going to add in my descriptions here, and then see, we'll still do the grouping because we're going to have abnormal as well. Right, so back to continuous, and then go back into the channel, create behavior, non-contact aggression, description, same one as before, subgrouping, social, save, back to continuous, and then the last behavior that we'll add is, let's do idiosyncratic body movements. Subgrouping abnormal, and then save. So now when we come back here, when we go into continue, we'll see that we have one continuous channel and 3 behaviors. So you can have multiple continuous channels, and but yeah, when we click it, you'll see these 3 behaviors. And again, reminder, only for individuals. You cannot record a continuous channel for a group. All right, so now we'll go into the observers. So this is where you add in just any observers that you want. So I will add in myself. And then if you don't have them listed here, because you don't have them within account management, you can just create the observer within this section. So yeah, just any observers that you want. And when you add an observer, that means that it'll show up on their profile when they go to the app. Okay, and then project materials. You can add materials and add any files or websites. Okay, and then session questions. So these are questions that are going to show up before you start a session. So let's say that we want to do a weather one, and then we'll say the question type. So for this one, we'll do a list, and then you just, same as before, just separate them by commas. So we'll say sunny, cloudy, and rainy. Okay. So let's create another type of question. We'll say temperature, and we'll specify that it's supposed to be Celsius, and this will be a number. So they can only enter a number here. And then you can also create a question where they enter text, but I won't add that now. Okay, so we'll just leave those 2 questions there. So now we are, and then you can add in any kind of questions that are going to help you really tease apart different parts of your data. So the reason that it's important, this part of is important because this will help you narrow down days according to different types of conditions. So if we want to look at the types of behaviors that are being displayed when it's sunny, when it's cloudy, when it's rainy, that's really important in relation to welfare, especially. And same thing with temperature. So if you look at our BEEB ethograms, we have a certain list of questions that we add at the beginning of every ethogram, and it's for this reason, so that we can really analyze the data and contextualize the behaviors, so that we can best use it to help welfare. Okay, so now that we have our project, now we want to make sure that the project looks how we want it to. So to review all of this, we're gonna return to the app to see whether it's looking how we want. So just gonna press save again, and then we're gonna return to app. So we're gonna select observer, but before we do, we're gonna say download updates, because we've updated all of that, and if we don't click download updates, then it's not going to come up. So now it's all saved. So now let me just find myself. And when I go to projects, now I should have that project listed. So that was BEEB practice chimps 2. Let's zoom in there. Okay. So we're going to say add session. So now we see we have our group of chimps and then our 2 individuals, and then we have our 2 questions. So this is coming up how we want. We have the options that we want, how they want. Temperature, we enter a number. And then notes, yeah, whatever we want to add there. And now we can click start session. So let's click start. Okay. Oops, sorry about my dogs barking. Okay, so here we have our scan, and when we click on the group, we can click how many of the group are displaying that behavior. Let's say that we want 5, and then we have, okay, and then that's all. So that's working. And then you see that for the group, these channels are not available. So we have the continuous channel and then the individual interval channel. Only the group interval channel is available. So let's say that there's 2 doing idiosyncratic movements. Now when we click on individuals, those different channels, those other channels are going to be available, the continuous channels and the individual interval channel. And you'll see that the group interval channel is blacked out. So we can then click according to the individuals, which ones they want. So that's all working. And then the continuous channels, that's working. And then we can stop behavior. So within the social, you'll see that contact and non-contact, you can only click one at a time. And so when you switch between, that's going to stop. So contact aggression started. When you click non-contact aggression, contact aggression stops. So within one channel, you can only have one selected. Within the whole continuous channel, you can only have one selected, sorry. And then you click stop behavior. And then you'll see here, this is what I was saying, that the different sections, well here as well, for social and abnormal, it separates them so that it organizes it. Because when you have multiple behaviors that go beyond, you'll have to scroll. So separating it like this helps a lot with the organization, so your observers don't have to scroll and can see more of them, and organize them in a simple, visible way. So when we have the individual selected, okay, that's one interval. Now we can select. And you'll notice that within an interval, again, within a channel, you can only select one. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me cancel that. So you'll see that switching between all of these, it only allows you to select one within here. With the ones that have modifiers, so this is aggression, we'll say that it's contact, and they're the aggressor. And the one that it's directed toward is chimp 4. And then we get to save that. And we have visitor interaction. Oops, sorry. Visitor interaction. Then we say it's negative and we save. Okay, so everything seems to be working well and exactly how we wanted. And when you have a group, you can add single or add multi. So we'll say add multi. That's working. And when you say chimp 3, you shouldn't be able to add more than one, so chimp 3 is there. And then chimp 4. Okay, perfect. So everything is looking exactly how we want it. So for the group, again, we can do all occurrence or their group interval channel, and the location, adding one or multiple. For chimp 3, for an individual, we have all occurrence, the continuous channel, and the individual interval, and then the location. And same for chimp 4. All right, so that's all looking how we want. We're going to say end session, delete session, delete session. So now we're going to return to the app. So go to admin. Okay, and then so now we'll create a survey. So now we've done an interval project. Now we're going to create a survey. So surveys are essentially just like one question that you want to ask at one point in time. So they're a lot simpler than the projects. So to create a survey, you're going to say survey name. So let's say we want body condition. Then the description, just any directions, well, yeah, any description of what it is. So yeah, just body condition for polar bears. Instructions, just any instructions that you might want. Question type. Okay, so list, number, or text, same as before. So we're gonna do a list, and then we're gonna click save. So for species, we're gonna do polar bears. And then we're gonna add. Sorry. And then we're gonna go to values. So create value. And we're gonna say instructions is gonna be the definition of that of that condition. And then you can also upload a file. So we are going to upload images. And then we're going to say thin. And create value, average. Okay, and there's two more values, fat and very fat. Okay, so now we have our different values and the images as well. So now we just save and we can return to the app again to view our survey to make sure it's looking how we want. So again, we want to download updates so that that survey can become visible. oh yes, body condition for polar bears. So when you come here, it's going to have the date, the time, and then the different individuals that are within that species, and then enter value, and then you can click. So for body condition, it's really useful if you have an image so that your observer can then refer to that image to see whether that they are skinny, thin, average, fat, or very fat. So save, and then you can say that, and then just save it for all of the individuals. Okay. And then save and close. So that's everything for surveys. Surveys are much simpler, and it's only one question that you can ask within those. So now we're gonna go into analytics. So in analytics, what we can do is we can generate some like basic reports with our data, or we can do some reliability analysis. So I'm gonna first go into reliability analysis. So when you do reliability, when you do the reliability testing, you can directly check reliability here. Okay, so you would just select a project, whichever project you want the reliability for. And then select one session to be the control, and then the session from that was done at the same time, obviously, to be the comparison. So this is going to be the standard, and then this is going to be the comparison, and you can select multiple sessions for the comparison. And then you just click on Analyze. And when you do that, you'll have the control observer and what they chose. And then you'll have the percent agreement, the Cohen's kappa, and then the Cohen's kappa 95% confidence intervals. So these are different sessions, so they won't have anything in common, but you'll want a threshold to, let's say, 80%, and you'll want, and when they reach that threshold, then they'll pass. And you can export this data as well. And when you click here for details, it'll tell you the different, it'll tell you the details for all of that. Okay. So, that's reliability. And you can play around with that to see with sessions that you've done, so you can really get a good handle on that. Okay, so now I'm going to explain how to create reports. So reports are just to visualize your data in some simple ways that could be really helpful. So we'll click Create Reports, and then you want to select the project that you're working on. And before you start filling in filters, you want to select the report type and the available data types. Because if you start selecting here and then you click here, it'll erase your filters. So you want to select the report type. So we'll start with behavior budgets, and we'll start with all occurrence. And you can group the behaviors as well. So let's say that we wanted to group into our categories like social, solitary, you could do that, but we won't be doing that. So we have, so now we have no filters applied, so let's generate the report. oh, apparently we did have one filter applied. We had a filter for Nuno. So let's edit settings. Let's say all animals and generate report. So now we have all of this. We have the self-scratch, centenoid, aggression, and abnormal behavior for each individual for all occurrence. So this is a rate. So occurrence is per minute per session. And within here, you can remove any individuals that you want. And to simplify it if you needed to. And it'll tell you how many sessions are, it'll tell you how many sessions per individual are involved and the dates of those sessions. Okay, so that's all occurrence. Oh, oops. So now we'll do target behavior. No, behavior budget, but for interval. So you can see the difference. Select behavior channel, and we want activity. And then you can specify the metrics. So we're gonna do percent of time, but if you press percent of visible time, this is where it's going to use those not visible behaviors. So it'll be more accurate. So if you have certain behaviors labeled as not visible, you want to use percent of time here. We don't have those labeled for this project, so we're just going to do percent of time. And then behavior grouping, again, you can create groups. And now we're going to generate the report. So edit settings, animals, all, generate report. So then you can see, again, just by individuals, that behavior budget. So note that the interval behavior budget is going to be percent of scans per session. So that's the difference between the all occurrence and the interval channel, how they're going to show up in this behavior budget. So interval is going to be percent of scans per session, and all occurrence is going to be occurrences of that behavior per minute per session. Okay, so here, yeah, you can compare all the behaviors. And if you wanted to narrow down the behaviors, you could say, I just want to see aggression, allo-grooming, and then generate report. And then you'll only see it for those two behaviors. And you can apply any of those filters. Okay. So now let's do target behavior. So target behavior, as the little icon suggests, it's going to show you how that behavior changes over time. So the behavior budget is just going to give you a bar graph, but this one, target behavior, is a line graph. So let's stick to interval and let's select just one behavior. Let's say allo-groom. And oh wait, sorry, it's gonna select, it's gonna erase. So activity, and then now let's check allo-groom. So generate report, and then you'll see that it'll give you a timeline down here, and then how that behavior has changed over time. And you can select multiple behaviors if you want to see how they change over time in relation to each other. Okay, so I'll let you just, so that's what this will look like. And you can also save the image. All right, so we'll go back to edit settings. So the important part within here is that you can go back to behavior budgets to demonstrate this, is that again, you can filter it by the animal, you can filter it by the behavior, the question, all of it. So if you, like, for example, if you wanted to know how they're behaving on cloudy days, you can select that, and then it'll filter all of that according to cloudy days. So let's say we want to see how much aggression there is in cloudy days. Oh no, erase it again. How much aggression there is in cloudy days. So we'll generate the report. And apparently there just wasn't aggression on cloudy days. Okay, so anyways, yeah. So you can filter it by all of that. Both behavior budget and target behavior, and also the heat map. Okay, so now I'm gonna take you through how to make the heat maps. So heat maps are really useful to not just see the enclosure use of your animal, to make sure that they are using their entire enclosure, but also that they're using it in the way that it's intended, that we're hoping that they do, so that they're displaying specific behaviors in specific areas. So this is where, for heat maps, the filters become really useful, especially for individual data. Because for heat maps, for individuals, you can see how they're using the enclosure with specific behaviors. With a group, you can't do that. A group, you can only look at, in general, how they're using the enclosure use. So, yeah, keep that in mind. That, yeah, groups, you won't be able to see enclosure use for specific behaviors. But okay, so let's take a look at this. So you need to specify just one map when you're doing a heat map. And I want all the animals. So right now what I have is all of the animals, and in this for one map, and all behaviors. So this is we have 36 sessions in this report, and then this is their habitat use for all individuals for this map. So now what I want to do is specify by behavior. So I can then filter it. Let's say that I want to know where they're allogrooming, and then now generate report. And now I can see where it is that they like to allogroom. And you can also filter it. Oh, sorry, the cloudy filter was still on. So that was cloudy and allogrooming. So we can generate report according to sunny and allogrooming. So this is where they tend to allogroom when it's sunny, and then when it was cloudy, you saw that they would allogroom in different places. So that's why it can be quite useful. All right, so that's how to create a heat map. And again, you can just filter it by anything and get really creative to understand the context. So now that we know how to generate reports within ZooMonitor, you might want to generate reports that are more detailed outside of ZooMonitor using the data. So to do that, we would want to export data. So what you do is you select your study. So, and then you want to say the range of the dates. So I'll just say July 1st to July 17. And then you want to say what data you want exported. So I would suggest to always include both of these, raw data and summary data. So the summary data, I'll show you what that is in a moment. And then optional filters. So I'm going to include practice sessions, but you can, if you label anything, when you do an observation, you can label it as a practice session, and then you can exclude them here, but I'll just include here. All right, and then you click export data. And then this will pop up to say that you'll get an email, but it'll also pop up over here when you want to look at the exported data. Okay, so now we have our admin export. Okay, and this is what that export is going to look like. So you'll have, when you select raw data and summary data, you'll have several tabs. So you'll have the raw data, which is going to have all of these different headings, which so I'll take you through them in a minute. And then you have the summary tabs. So with the raw data, you'll have a lot of different headings that are self-explanatory. So this is where where the data really starts. So you have the project animals. So this is all the animals. The duration is just the duration of the session, so 10 minutes. Which habitat map is selected, the grid size, image size, any notes. And then you have channel type. This is our interval channel, and subject type. So whether they're individual or group, focal name. And then you'll see the frame number. So frame number is the interval number. So you'll see 1 through 20. Back here you saw all occurrence value, all occurrence, or the comment. And then, so this is interval channel name 1. So this is social proximity. And then you have the value, so proximate or distant. So that goes on, and then you even have the space use here in these columns, and then the last columns are going to be those session questions. So the question and then the response. So yeah, that's the raw data, and then the summary data is going to be it'll have the behavior count, total intervals recorded, and then the total visible intervals recorded, and then the behavior percent. So pretty much this is giving you the data that goes into those figures. And if you recorded, this is where it's important if you recorded a behavior as not visible, because then it'll be able to calculate this for you according to those behaviors, the not visible behaviors. So if you don't have behaviors that are selected as not visible, this total visible interval and behavior percent is going to be, and the behavior visible percent is going to be the same. So behavior percent and behavior visible percent will be the same, and total intervals recorded and total visible intervals recorded will be the same. But if you do specify not visible behaviors, you'll get this, something that distinguishes that. So it's really good. And yeah, it'll just summarize all of that for the rest. It'll have those summary calculations for you. The raw data is not going to have those calculations. It'll just tell you the behavior for each interval. Okay, so that's what the data looks like then. So the last thing that I'm going to do is show you how to add use the community project tab. So for that, I will come full screen. So in the community project here, you're going to see all the projects that are public. So these are available for anyone to join. You don't need a code or anything. You can just go to these projects and join them if you want, or request to be added to them. So the way to add a BEEB community project from online is by clicking here in Add Private Study. So you're gonna click here, and then you're gonna enter the code that is in the ethogram, or it's either the ethogram or in the reliability coordinator instructions. So you enter it here, and then you click save, and that'll send a request to be added, and then you'll receive a notification by email if you have been accepted to be added. So Add Private Study doesn't automatically add you, it just sends a request to be added. And then when you go to view my studies, so you have your active, the most active projects. This is going to include the ones in this community plus your projects that might be private. And then community stats. So to view your own projects, you're gonna put view my studies, and then you'll be able to see all of your own studies that are active. So this is where you'll be able to also manage your projects. So if you come here, you can see all of the details that you've added from before. So one thing that I'm not going to do is to see how to create a project. It's best if you go to the ZooMonitor YouTube channel, where they have some really nice tutorials on creating projects, but I won't go through creating a project within here. I'm just gonna show you how to kind of navigate it. So this is where you'll be able to see your projects, and then you can edit project. So editing does not mean being able to edit the behaviors. You'll only be able to edit very specific details, because some details cannot be changed. Okay, so then manage project, where you can manage your participants and your pending requests. So this is where you'll be able to see requests from that people have sent to be added to the project and accept it. And then so you saw, and then you can also close the project, which would stop people from being able to collect data, but still keep the project alive and active. Or you can delete the project, which will delete everything, including all recorded data. So you have those two options from here as well. And then you can look at your participants, pending requests, and updates. So and you can also export the data and then view session summaries. Okay, so this will be more for exploring and looking at those ZooMonitor YouTube channel tutorials, so I won't go into too many details there. All right, so that's how you add a private study with the BEEB, and also how you view the studies that you have added. So now I'm going to show you how to duplicate one of those studies that you've been added to and how it'll show up in your projects. So when you go back to your projects, you'll see some of your projects have this little circle, purple circle. Those are community projects. So those, you can click sync data to synchronize the data so that the admin on the project can view your data. But you can also duplicate these so that you can collect data more privately. So we'll demonstrate this with BEEB for Bears community. So this is how it'll look in one of the BEEB projects will look in your projects. It'll say BEEB for whichever taxa you have. So you'll just press copy. And once that your page looks like it refreshed, you're gonna see a copy here. So BEEB for Bears copy. And with this project, you can now collect data that doesn't get stored within that community project. So if you do want to collect within the community project, that data gets stored anonymously, and it has the potential to be used in the future to build baselines for that taxa. But for now, it's just collecting data anonymously. So, but yeah, you have that option of creating a copy, and then you can work within that copy and no one else will have access to that data or be able to see it. Okay, so that's everything that I'll be taking you through in this video. Hopefully that gives you a nice foundation to start using ZooMonitor within the BEEB. But if you need more information or more tutorials, do visit the ZooMonitor YouTube channel where there's a library of wonderful tutorials. But thank you for watching this video, and I wish you the best of luck with data collection, and I hope you get some beautiful behavioral data. All right, bye.